that's the sign of somebody with a high moral IQ. And like I said, that question that I asked you is one that actually comes from a moral IQ test, and I got it from a actual psychologist. He's been practicing for years. I'm not going to give you his name, but he's been practicing for years. He's actually a really, really great psychologist. He specializes in psychotherapy. So, and he works a lot with people with high IQs and different sort of abilities. So he's very, very familiar with like things like racing thought syndrome, the perspective of people with high IQs, the perspective of, he's familiar with that kind of stuff. That's what he specializes in, sort of a psychologist's psychologist. So, and if he asked you that question and you gave the same answer you gave me, he would tell you, well, that is indicative of low moral IQ. It's not a judgment. This is just based on, it's, okay, psychology, soft science, it's not hard science. But based off of the studies that we do, we start to see a pattern in specific people. The people who'd say, no, I would steal to keep a person alive. It's like stealing is wrong, yes, but keeping someone alive far outweighs the idea or concept of theft. That's the thing. There's a thought process there that's more complicated than just, well, stealing's wrong. That's what I mean. Moral objectivity. Less likely to question morality and ethics. Moral subjectivity. More likely to question morality and ethics. I don't think, like, on the moral and ethics scale, there is caps to the end, okay? The most extreme on the moral objective scale is probably where theism is. It's like, that's where you get, well, homosexuality is bad because the Bible says so. And I mean, if you were to, even if you went back to ancient Rome or Greece and argued that, they'd be like, that's an argument from authority. Because it is. It's because I said so is not any kind of reason. Then on the moral subjective side, the absolute most extreme is called moral nihilism. That there's a difference between moral nihilism. The ethicists that I've debated have gotten this so confused, and I keep trying to explain. There's a difference between moral nihilism and being a nihilist. Different. Moral nihilism is basically morality just doesn't exist. It does not exist. Everything's permissible. Murder, rape, theft, everything. Most moral subjectivists lie within a realm of morality and ethics are subjective, but there's probably, whether it be a evolutionary reason or be it logic and critical thinking, is it our ability to empathize and sympathize, it's a very, very long stream of questions and answers and complexities that make up where it's where our morality and ethics come from. It's subjective. It's not saying we don't need them. Or no, they're absolute. Morality is a good thing. Morality and ethics are good. It's good that we have them, but they are subjective. We create them. The concept of do not murder is not something that exists in nature. It's something we came up with as sort of a survival mechanism. And that's why it is important, is because it is a survival mechanism. And then, we have us human beings, we have a sense of fair and unfair and just and unjust. So it's like, if you split the pie unevenly, the other human people monkey feels like they've been betrayed, and the other one feels like that they're a king. And so that's where you get into things of like egalitarianism and humanitarianism. So absolutely, yeah, morals and ethics are good. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying we made them. We made them up. There is no sense of just or unjust in nature and physics. There's no sense of fair or unfair in nature. It's first come, first serve. Fuck you. I mean, that's how nature works. And the fact that human beings did come up with this is actually quite miraculous. It's a testament to our intelligence. But I cannot accept, or I won't. And the thing is like I think if we had a conversation, you would find it very different than typing up in here, because I was getting very, very frustrated. I'm very auditory, and it takes me a long time to read things. It takes me even longer to type than it used to, especially on a phone, because I do have nerve damage in my right arm. Down the whole thing, like all the way, like from the vertebrae all the way down. All right, this is all numb right here. I could put an ice cube here on my shoulder and watch it melt. Okay, because I had 5 nerves compressed for like 6 years. 4 years at the very minimum, which is very unlikely, all the way up to 6 years. I'm pretty sure it's been like 5 years. But I had a surgery. Those nerves have been decompressed or uncompressed. One of the parts of the surgery is I had muscles. I had a scalene muscle removed out of my neck. My pectoral muscle was detached from my shoulder because it was compressing my artery. And my first rib up here was removed. And even though they decompressed the brachial plexus or the thoracic outlet, I have nerve damage because those nerves were compressed for a very long time. And so my fingers, these 2 fingers, they're numb. Like if I'm playing a video game and I'm using my trigger finger, sometimes my finger gets locked like this, and I'm staring at the game and I'm like, why is my gun not firing? Because in my mind, my finger's still doing this, even though it's not. Because the communication to the brain is just not going on. It's a condition called neurogenic thoracic outlet syndrome. It's a repetitive motion injury. Anyway, so I don't like this. So if we were to have like an actual conversation, one thing you would find is that I'm very, very calm. I don't fly off the hinge, and when I don't understand something, I usually sit back and listen for a while. And I will ask a ton of questions. A lot of why. Why is that? I want to know why you think that. And when you say life begins at conception, well, that brings on a lot more questions than it answers for me. Because it's like, okay, why? Why does life miraculous? Like you said that I'm defining life arbitrarily. I'm not defining life. I'm defining a moral or ethical blockage. It's like you have the let's say there's consciousness, self-awareness, autonomy, and interpretation of pain. So you have 4 categories that I'm using to determine this. Not just 1, 4. And so it's like consciousness, no. Self-awareness, no. Autonomy, no. And then as you go to the second trimester, it's like, but it can interpret pain. And it's like, okay. That makes sense. That's what I mean. I'm being nice. Because as far as I'm concerned, even though it still has a central nervous system and can interpret pain, it still doesn't know it exists. So there's no consciousness. And I understand the sentiment of the higher value that it's going to be human protection of our own species. That makes sense. That's rational. That's logical. Completely understand. However, we don't live in the dark ages, let's say, where bubonic plague, the Black Death, killed like 3/4 of the world's population. That's intense. That's like, have as many babies as you possibly can. Human survival depends on it kind of situation. We're not living in a world where the world population is only like, let's say 350,000. I think that's a safe number, because if you go too low, like 30,000, that's not a wide enough array of genetic diversity to actually carry on the human species without some really bad problems. So we live in a day and age where the human population is at 7 billion people, billion with a B. And when we start talking about things like population control, this is another thing that goes into my rationality of why I say abortion is acceptable up to the second trimester. Like, no more abortion after the second trimester unless it's an emergency. We got a lot of people, and population control doesn't have to be killing autonomous, conscious, self-aware, pain-interpreting living organisms. Humans. Us. It doesn't have to be. We don't have to be going to war. We don't have to be antagonists and protagonists, provocateurs. We don't have to be this. There are ethical ways in which we can control population. One, supporting the rights of LGBTQIA plus people. Okay, this is a neutral. And even if it's still like, if you're into the whole eugenics racial crap, well, guess what? Homosexuals can still reproduce if necessary. But all and otherwise, pretty harmless, pretty ethically moral. It's neutral. It's not unethical. It's not ethical. It's neutral of homosexuality. So that's one method of, like a pretty moral, pretty ethical population control. Antinatalism, or the subjective choice, the choice not to reproduce, that's another one. Contraceptives, that's another one. And alas, abortions. Because what we're aborting, as I have said, if we even leave out the whole central nervous system thing, it's not conscious, doesn't have a personality or thought process or anything. It's not self-aware, it doesn't know it's alive. It's not autonomous, it's not interacting with our reality. It's the only way it's interacting with our reality is that of a parasite. And kind of like worms, like intestinal worms. It's just feeding off nutrients from the female's body. That's all it's doing. And so if we terminate that, because it's not wanted, it's not like we're just doing it for the fuck of it, for the fun of it. No. The mother, maybe she's not ready to have a child. There's a lot of questions that can go into this. Do I have the right kind of lifestyle? Like I got into some trouble. I started doing prostitutes. Maybe I have a really severe STD that could be spread to this child, and I don't even know because I haven't been tested. I haven't been responsible with myself. All kinds of things that maybe they're addicted to crack. Maybe they're addicted to heroin. There's all kinds of things where they go, oh shit, I fucked up. I'm pregnant. I don't need to have this. It's not just incest and rape. There's all kinds of reasons. So it makes this very complicated. But when you do it before it's self-aware, I think that's the most ethical decision to make, as opposed to bringing it in and it's like, It's HIV positive, addicted to crack, and probably like 10 minutes away from dying. But we're going to keep it alive, and it's going to have developmental problems its whole life. Or maybe it's got fetal alcohol syndrome now because you think abortion is wrong. Because it wasn't incest. It wasn't rape. It's just the person was living a lifestyle that they themselves would even admit this is not a lifestyle to raise a kid. But you're forcing me to have it. And now it's got to have what kind of life? And that's where I have this big giant question mark just smack me in the face. It's like, what is ethical in that situation? I don't know anymore. You're telling me, no, it has to be this way. And I'm like, I don't know. I think that having a child in that situation is far more unethical. And I have a personal story. My mother, she had an abortion. She accidentally got pregnant. She didn't think it was going to happen. The birth control didn't work. She was on the cusp of going through menopause. She was so close to menopause. Had she tried to even carry that thing through term, it could have fucking killed her. And asking people not to fuck, that's not going to happen. That's never been a thing. That's never been a thing. Even if you 200,000 years of human history, people fuck for fun. They do. This concept of solely monogamous fucking is a fantasy. The moment the concept of monogamy and marriage came into being, adultery came right along with it. We have the capability of being monogamous, but we're a very complicated species because we have 3 different parts of our brain. We have a reptilian brain, we have a mammalian brain, and then we have our cerebral cortex and frontal lobe. And because of that, it makes us very complicated creatures. Because we are capable of monogamy, we are capable of polyamory, and we are also capable of promiscuity. And Helen Fisher, as a neurologist, she goes through all the different parts of the brain that are responsible for love, lust, attraction, and romantic love. I would recommend seeking her out. She does some wonderful studies on it. She's actually the neurologist that is responsible for finding the part of the human brain that is responsible for pair bonding or monogamous relationships. She found the part of the brain. She found it. Love is real, and it's has a physiological effect on the brain, and we know that now. Amazing study. So, to me, the abortion question is complicated. It's not just defining where life begins. It's a huge amount of questions. And not something that is simple, and not something that I can very simplistically answer in the comment section of a YouTube video. I would not even be able to answer this simplistically on Facebook. I would not, Twitter, out of the question. Fuck that. Shit. You can barely argue for basic human rights on that. It's like, here, you have 5 letters. Oh, fuck. That's 1 word. So, unless you already have certain understandings, like if you came into the conversation already knowing this person is a moral subjectivist and they have these specific sort of argument points, and you have yours, and walking into it knowing we're not going to agree, then we don't have to have a debate. We can have a conversation and sort of be like, okay, this is my notes on the left's position. Okay, this is my nuanced notes, because it seems like you have a nuanced perspective where it's like you're not necessarily against abortion, but you're only for it in emergency situations only. Or what you call emergency situations, which I don't know what that is. That has not been, you did not define what those were. So that if you wanted to have debated that with me, it would have been better done verbally, face to face, because what you're wanting to debate is extremely complicated. It's complex. It's not simple. And yes, just asserting a conclusion is a fallacy. Doesn't matter what you're arguing. Peanut butter is good. Okay, why? What's another assertion I could show as an example? So I could even assert sunlight damages collagen cells. That's an assertion. It's true, but it's still a fallacy because there's no premise. There's a reason why sunlight damages the collagen cells. And it's actually the reason as to why we start getting saggy skin and wrinkles is because the collagen cells lose their elasticity due to years of exposure to sunlight. Yep. Eventually they're going to deteriorate and do it anyway, but sunlight doesn't help. And simultaneously, sunlight is good for you because it provides vitamins. Vitamin D, I think it is. I think it's vitamin D and vitamin E that sunlight gives your skin. But simultaneously, it's good for you and bad for you. Not fun. So, yeah. When you're talking to, I think most moral objectivists I talk to, they understand that if they approach me about a subject, moral subjectivism is going to play a feature in that. Absolutely, 100%. And as I've recorded this video is now an hour long, and I've probably split it up into 2 videos by now. That's what I mean, is that even in just recording this, I didn't even read the comments. I'm explaining these things, and this is what tells me you've not really watched a whole lot of my channel, because I've gone over the philosophical meta-ethics of the moral compass before. And most people who are subscribed to my channel and most people that do interact with me in the comments already know this. Not because I made a video about it necessarily, because they themselves are educated on that. I mean, no disrespect. But that kind of debate between a moral objectivist and a moral subjectivist when it comes to abortion, that's something best left to do face to face. Not in a comment section. That's like a 2-hour long, like, Christopher Hitchens versus the theist debate. That's what that is. All right, I think I covered everything. I might have to put something in the first part of the video stating, look, this is going to be a 2-part series because it's so long. But all right, anyway, like, share, subscribe, comment. If you're going to debate something, please don't make it a debate that I could write that's going to turn into a college curriculum textbook. Please, let's make this very easy, quick answer debates. I mean, I do it anyway. I've done it with the F-lists. I don't hate you, F-lists. I just think you have fantasy like notions. I think your philosophy is very, very fanciful. Okay. I don't hate you, F-lists. I think it's wishful thinking. I don't know that it's realistic. That's my only thing. Is it like, hey, hold on, this is a little wonky. I don't know that you're gonna. I don't know about this. I don't hate you. And Bobby B, I don't hate you either. I did take a look at your YouTube channel. I think that there's a lot of things you and I would disagree on, and I'm going to be outright blunt with you. I think you would, if you got to know me, you'd probably think I was one of the extremist leftists. I do advocate for mixed economy of capitalism and socialism. I do. And in mind, in principle, I'm an anarchist, or you could call me a libertarian socialist. I'm an anarchist. I don't like institutions. I don't like any kind of form of authoritarianism at all. Like, I don't like the government. I don't like church. I don't like institution. I'm an adult, though. You know, when I was young, I was like, anarchy, fuck yeah. Okay, when I was 15. I'm 39. I'm going on 39. I'm a grown adult. I know that's not realistic. We can't live in an anarchistic society because there's too many people out there that would not be able to moderate themselves. You know, there's too many people out here be like, what? There's no institutions? There's no rule of law anymore? I'm going to go kill that person that pissed me off last week. That's going to happen. I know that. And I'm not trying to fight for the United States to be an anarchist society, okay? But I am a leftist. And I vote left because I want regulations on capitalism, and I've made that no secret. I've talked about it many, many times with right-leaning friends of mine, both on the internet and off the internet. C.R. Williams knows me very, very well. And I've talked to him like, look, you know, I don't want to pee on the right-leaning people's feet, but just this level of authoritarianism that major conglomerate corporations have obtained, I feel is inappropriate. And the only way I think to really address it is through regulations on capitalism. And I would dare to say, the people who say no regulation at all, I don't know that you really mean that. If we deregulated everything, I think you would find out very, very quick that that's a very, very, very bad idea. You know, you might have lead in your food, unsafe work environments, no such thing as a minimum wage. We might even go back to slave labor, but hey, we'd be egalitarian about it now. Not that would make it better. But I'm very leftist, and I've been very open about that. Even in the anti-SJW days, I was very open about being a leftist. Very open about that. Yeah, I want affordable housing built. I want to improve our social safety nets. And I'm fine with paying for them with my taxes, as long as they function how they're supposed to, which right now they don't because of mass amounts of deregulation and defunding. I would agree that regulation should be easy to read and not be the size of an Encyclopedia Britannica. I agree with that. And I will be the first to admit, when us leftists come up with a regulation, as well intended as it is, once it hits that Senate floor, there's all these hands in the cookie jar, and it ends up hurting the people we are trying to protect. Or sometimes there's a collateral damage that happens that's unintended. I'll be the first to admit that to you. Yeah, that does happen. And I don't like it when that happens. I didn't like Obamacare. Obamacare forced people to have the very people the left was trying to protect, which was people who didn't have health care. It penalized them. That's not helpful. That wasn't what we were asking for. We were saying, We want to pay taxes. And then that tax will have health care. And honestly, I would not use Canada as an example. I use Germany because they have privatized health care and they have national health care. And it's not mandatory there. During tax season in Germany, you have the option to pay a tax. If you pay that tax, you get national health care. You can opt not to pay it. You do not get penalized for this. You can choose to not have health insurance at all. However, the amount of money that you owe the hospital, should you end up there, the onus is on you. Or you could choose to get privatized health insurance in Germany. But it's not mandatory. That's what I think, that's what I would advocate for, is making it a choice. If it's not a choice, it's not truly democratized socialism, now is it? In a mixed economy inside of a government institution that is a constitutional republic, which is a hybrid of democracy. Yeah, I'm a leftist. That's not a secret. You can ask the right-wingers in the comments section. They'll tell you, no, he's a leftist. It's not a secret. I've not kept that secret to anyone. I do tend to be called a rational leftist, and I don't know what that means. But, yeah, I don't know. I am willing to have actual dialogues with people I disagree with, and without getting mad and without demonizing them as being a neo-Nazi or something like that. Now, there are some people that I have called that, but they will have very, very racist things on other aspects of their social media and propose very, very racist, homophobic things and sit there and tell me, no, I'm not a white nationalist. No, I'm not a neo-Nazi. No, I'm not these things. And it's like, well, you kind of are an ethno-nationalist. But I still interact with them respectfully, even though I disagree with them on a very fundamental level. I've come to the realization I cannot change your mind. All I can do is put information out there and hope that maybe it changes someone's mind. Maybe it won't. I don't know. That's not up to me. That's up to the people who are consuming the content. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But one thing I do know for sure is that nothing comes of nothing. And if I don't try, certainly it won't happen at all. I at least first have to try. That's what I do now. And honestly, I think that's the way that it should be. I think that misinformation should be debunked with facts. And I think really bad political positions should be opposed by presenting an alternative. And I do not agree with censorship. But I am a leftist. Oh yeah, you bet. And I don't think it's very anarchist to promote censorship. I don't think that is. No matter how much I disagree with what the person is saying. Yeah, so. Okay, again, I gotta wrap this up. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. I haven't said that in a long time. I'm out.